So how do you tell when your puppy's in heat or if they're going into heat? So I'm going to share with you guys the behavioral traits and the physical traits that I've noticed when it comes to my puppies going into heat, and I hope that I can help you guys. But before I go into that, I want to share the 4 stages that they actually go through to help you better understand the heat cycle. So if they're a smaller dog, they tend to mature a lot faster and they tend to get their heat cycle a lot earlier. So the smaller the dog, the earlier they get their heat cycle, and the bigger the dog, the later they get it. For example, a Chihuahua is more likely to get their heat cycle at the earliest 5 to 6 months old, while a Great Dane or German Shepherd will probably get it at the latest 8 months to a year and a half. It's completely different for every dog and every breed, so just keep that in mind. So the first stage that the dogs usually go through is called the proestrus stage, and this is the stage where they go through the swelling of their vulva and discharge. Usually you would notice it, or if you do notice it, it's about 7 to 10 days where they start to swell and they start to have this discharge. And then after that 7 to 10 days, it becomes bloody discharge. It goes from a clear discharge to a bloody discharge. Once it becomes a bloody discharge, that's when it can go up to about 21 days where they're bleeding. Well, at least most of my dogs go through 21 days. And it might be a little longer or it might be a little shorter, but typically my puppies go for about 21 days when they're bleeding. And then that leads into the second stage, which is the estrus stage. This is the stage where they are the most fertile and it can last about 5 to 10 days. So you really want to be careful. If you have a male around, try to keep the male away from the female because he will do whatever he can to get to the female. And then after this second stage, it leads into the third stage, which is the diastrus or diastrus. I can't pronounce it. Their hormone starts to settle down and they're starting to kind of go back to normal. And then once they go back to normal, it leads into the fourth stage, which is the anestrus stage, which they're just back to normal and they're waiting for their next cycle to happen. So these are the 4 stages of the heat cycle. In the first 2 stages, the proestrus, when they're swelling and they're discharging, to the bloody discharge, and then the estrus stage, they're very fertile to mate. Those are the 2 that are very important and the 2 that you want to keep an eye on. These are the behavioral traits that I notice for my puppies when they're about to go into their heat or when they're in heat. And the first thing that I notice is they become very attached and very affectionate. My puppies will always want to cuddle with me. They become very affectionate. They're literally attached to me by the hip. That's usually the case with them, but sometimes they can get a little aloof too, depending on the dog, where some of them don't want any attention or any affection. They kind of just want to be by themselves. So it all depends on the puppy, but usually most of the time they're very affectionate. The second thing that I notice is they're very alert, as if they're restless and nervous. They're very aware of their surroundings and they're pacing around a lot. So it seems like something's like always bugging them or they're like a little antsy about something. Those are the 2 behaviors that I notice, the affectionate side and the restless side. The physical traits that I notice is the swollen vulva. And with the swollen vulva, if you're able to and if you're comfortable to, I would recommend to take a picture of their vulva at the normal state that it is, and then take a picture of it during their heat cycle. And you would notice that it almost doubles in size or it does double in size. That's how you can kind of tell physically when they are going into heat or if they're already in heat. Do notice is the discharge. So the discharge goes from a clear discharge to a bloody discharge. It's not very heavy like humans, but it does have droplets or it tends to leave a trail. So what I do is I would put my puppy in puppy diapers. With the puppy diaper inside, I will put like a panty liner so that I can catch the droplets. Or if not, I buy the packs that have about 3 to 4 that comes in there and I would rotate between all of them and just wash the diapers. But I like to do the panty liners to kind of keep it clean. When they're going through this whole phase, in order for them to feel comfortable, I usually like to give my puppies a bath to kind of clean them down there. Or if that's not the case, then give them a little break from the diaper. I would take off the diaper and kind of let them walk around like either the bathroom, a kitchen, or a living room, somewhere where I can see the droplets and I can clean it. I would do that and get a wet towel and clean her down there so that there isn't any residue. Just basically try to keep her clean down there, but not too much to the point where it irritates her. I hope these tips and my experiences have helped you kind of understand the heat cycle, the situation of what the puppies are going through, and make sure you give them a lot of love and affection during this time because it is very hard for them and they don't know exactly what's going on.